In this video, we're going to go over the blocked middle split contractions. It's a variation of the standard middle split CRAC method, but we are using weight to limit and control the range we'll be working within. I recommend using weight plates or kettlebells, as these are easier to set up with, but in this video we'll be using dumbbells, and they can work just as well. You just have to make sure they're not rolling all around the place. You want them to stay in place. Having the weights in place on the outside of the feet, and we'll see it in practice in a short while, also gives us something to push against on the shortening side contractions, which can be really helpful if you are struggling to find a strong contraction here, as it will usually be easier to find that once you actually have something tangible and external to push against. When setting up for the exercise, we want to have a support that can take a lot of our weight through the arms, so we can control how much weight is going into the legs. I prefer having something where I can put my arms straight on it when in the middle split position, but you can also use something taller like a chair, something that just kind of place your arms on whatever lets you take and control how much weight you take off of the legs. The distance between the weights is what's gonna control how deep you're gonna be going into the position. And we want to be keeping that constant between sessions and make sure that we track if we choose to increase the distance. The most precise way of tracking the distance is obviously using something like measuring tape. But if you have some floor with some markings on it, or you can measure in yoga block lengths or something like that, can also work relatively fine. When getting into the position, I'm gonna place my weight and my support through my arms, and then get into the position with my feet up against the weight. We want the weight to be heavy enough that it's just not just sliding further out, even if I put quite a bit of weight into it. It needs to be quite sturdy. Yeah. Now the range that I'll be working from, the depth that I'll be working from, we want this to be quite comfortable. You should be able to stay here for a minute comfortably at the very minimum. So that means that after a minute you won't be dying. You will be starting to actually feel like, I'm slowly getting ready to get out of this position, but want to gradually be able to hold it for longer and longer periods of time. Now from this position, we have two different contractions that we are going to be doing for 10 to 15 seconds at a time. First one is activating the adductors, pressing our feet down into the floor and thinking we're actually trying to get our feet to be squeezed together. And starting at about 40% intensity and then slowly increasing from there. You don't have to go up to 100%, but if it feels good, you can do that. If you manage to make a really strong contraction, you might feel like your hands can start to get a little bit lighter on the blocks, on the support. Not a must, but it's a small bonus. When ending the contraction, you want to do so on an exhale and see if you can relax completely. Then we can either spend 5 to 10 seconds just settling in, or we could move straight onto the next contraction, which is going to be a contraction of the shortening side muscles, basically the glute, primarily the glute muscles. Now what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to push my feet out against the weight, and again we need the weight to be quite heavy and solid, so I can't actually push it further away. So I'm going to try to push into the weight for 10 seconds, push, 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 push. And here you can really let it rip. Try to see how strong a contraction of the butt muscles you can get going. But again, the depth of the position is not really changing in the standard variation at least. Then after 10 seconds, you're gonna again end on an exhale and see if you can relax completely. Two important things here. First of all, we want to be keeping our face nice and relaxed. If you tense your face a bit when doing a strong contraction, that's not a big problem, but as soon as you let go, you also want to be letting go of all the tension in your face. And basically seeing if you can just let go of any tension. Basically everywhere in the body is going to be your intention at least. You also want to be keeping your breathing relaxed and just relatively natural and comfortable breathing, let's call it that. You also want to be keeping your breathing slow and relaxed. If you're not able to keep your face relaxed and if you're not able to keep your breathing slow and relaxed, it's usually a sign that you have pushed a bit too far. Things might be feeling very intense at points towards the end of a set here, can be. But even if that happens, you want to be doing our best to keep our breathing and our face relaxed, basically trying to trick the body into thinking that this is completely fine and no big deal. After finishing up a round of contractions, you're going to take 10 to 20 seconds pause before starting a new round of contractions. And I will usually prescribe somewhere between 2 to 5 rounds of contractions. Now, once you're comfortable with the standard version, we could eventually move on to the version where you are basically doing all the same things. So first, the lengthening side contractions of the adductors, pushing into the floor for 10 seconds. But when doing the shortening side contractions of the glutes, we could work with a weight that allows us to actually slightly push it further out during our shortening side contractions. We just want to make sure that the main driver of the movement is still really this glute tension, tensing the butt to push the weight further out. I do recommend first getting quite comfortable with the standard version. So this would be something I would progress people onto after first getting some experience with the standard version.